Okay, we're here to talk about Paradise, Season 2, the finale, Episode 8, titled Exodus. This episode written by John Hoberg and Sina Haddad and directed by Hanel Culpepper. 9 years before the apocalypse, Dylan shows Henry Miller a supercomputer that he has built. With Redmond's funding, they build Alex, a computer that can end the upcoming climate crisis. But Alex starts to predict events of the future and manipulate time, so Miller recommends shutting it down. Redmond refuses. In the present, Redmond has disappeared to go find Alex while the militia makes its move on the bunker. Nuclear reactors begin to melt down. Systems across the bunker begin to fail. And as the reactors begin to explode, Anders and Geiger are killed, and Robinson is injured but manages to escape. Tarabi, while Redmond is out of pocket, initiates the Exodus plan, which forces everyone to evacuate the bunker. Upon seeing this, the militia aids in the evacuation, but during the chaos, Collins and Terry enter the bunker and reunite with their son. Dylan then helps Collins and Redmond rescue their daughters from an elevator. Redmond and Dylan reunite. The nosebleeds come back when they do, and Collins is able to convince Dylan to leave the computer Alex behind because he has Dylan's daughter outside. Before sacrificing herself to close the bunker doors, Redmond tells Collins about Alex that's in another bunker 100 miles away. She says he must be the one to find it, activate it, so it can save the world. So we have a lot of answers about Alex, what Alex is. We have a lot of storylines that tried to tie together in this to sort of wrap this season up. Are you more interested in sort of the actions happening inside the bunker and how they get out, or what Alex is and what the future of this show is with that computer now in play?
To be honest, I'm kind of more interested in what Alex is and maybe mildly disappointed that we didn't get a little bit more exposition or explanation.
Yeah,
Um, I think I said to you last week that I more or less expected Patrick Fischler's character to return and give
yep,
us a
yep.
monologue about what Alex does. And but you know, I was right in spirit. You know, we did get flashbacks of him and so on, but it remains a little fuzzy, which I guess is okay because it's part of then the hook for season three at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we know Alex is like a quantum computer. Okay. Um, References to, you know, things like quantum entanglement in the background. And so things are like timey-wimey, as Doctor Who might say. And we're not getting a lot more of a like logical explanation than that. I don't know if we ever will, but
Yeah.
that this quantum computer tasked with stopping, preventing, reversing the climate crisis, however Redmond puts it,
Hmm.
um, you know, Henry Miller, Patrick Fisher's character, says, "Oh well, we're quite concerned because our supercomputer has started trying to mess with time, so we got to turn it off." You know, and then we're kind of left to speculate from there. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it was interesting that that was sort of the leap that was made. I mean, we knew that we had to start dealing with some time shenanigans and some time travel things here. And I would say some of that stuff we still just don't have resolution on necessarily. However, to go from, yeah, computer that models or algorithmically can figure out a way to end a crisis to, okay, this computer is going to now start predicting things in the future or trying to jump back in time to change things. I mean, I know nothing about supercomputing and quantum entanglement, but I presume that's a leap of some kind. But we kind of got there quickly, and as you said, without a lot of exposition, other than to say they say what it is. Miller wants to shut it down. Redmond refuses. I don't know that Miller understands exactly what it's for or why she's doing it or what that's going to go in some kind of bunker. But there's some leaps we had to make to get where we were, but there's still a long way to go in season three, as you pointed out.
Right. I mean, there's a big difference too between predicting the future, which is spooky, fair,
Hmm.
but there's a big difference between that and whatever the hell would make it so that Redmond's dead son is alive now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like, there's also a pretty big gap there. And that's where I feel like there's a certain lack of explanation, which thinking about it, I don't know like how far do I want the show to go into some kind of techno babble. I guess I do want something. I'm still kind of caught up on the question of whether this makes sense or can make sense, but I guess when it comes down to it, maybe we'll have to accept a paradoxical structure, right? Because one thing that this episode didn't do anything to dispel would be a worry along those lines of temporal paradox with Dylan, with Lang, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, that he is the inventor of the computer that is the reason he exists.
I was hoping, I think, or maybe missing more than anything, the idea that there would be some, maybe not all, but some kind of explanation of how, yes, this Dylan, Alex, how this all is working or how this all came to be. If he is in fact Redmond's son, that he is in fact the person who came up with the idea for this. Yeah, there's some weird explaining. I thought we would get some resolution to that, but we really got none.
Yeah, and then the show's going to have to play with that more in some way. So I just hope they do a good enough job for it to feel narratively satisfying.
Yeah.
No part of me expects it to feel satisfying with regard to even my layman's understanding of quantum mechanics, right?
Hmm.
I'm not expecting scientific plausibility here, but at least like something that feels narratively satisfying enough. And the best I could do there, because it does seem like I'm speculating maybe a little, but that we're left in a position where there's the idea that, well, first of all, like Alex hasn't even been activated yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but whatever Alex is going to do, we have already seen the effects of. So there's a weird notion of a certain kind of determinism at play there, while at the same time, there's a thought that Alex is going to meaningfully change what has happened, and maybe we haven't seen all of the effects of that yet. So, yeah. um, how does that work? How
Yeah.
are
The
they going
fact
to
that
hang
I guess
together?
that's a tough, I think, question that we're left with is well, Alex is tasked with this. I mean, nothing less than a sort of massive world saving problem that it's dealing with. But the quest to go activate it, turn it on, do what it's supposed to do. I mean, is it supposed to not only predict but then also enable something to fix what the problem is? That's the only thing I can think of when. So this made me think about Foundation a little bit, which I'm still watching one episode, like every 39 days or something. But in Foundation, there's this whole sense of a model that can accurately predict what is going to happen, and there's all these variables that go into
Mm-hmm.
that, and we're sort of pointing towards that future. Okay, but then what we manipulate then are our actions to get to that point or not get to that point, or what happens to reach that point, not manipulating time. And so, yeah, the only thing that I can think of is the thing that it's supposed to do to solve its problem is to manipulate time. They just didn't anticipate that when they built it. I'm just not sure how to square all that together.
Right. That Henry and Dylan didn't anticipate it, but when Redmond finds out, she thinks, well, that's fine, you know?
Perfect. Yeah. Let's go.
So what does she think is going to happen is one question that I have here because she makes various comments that indicate that I guess she thinks something like it's going to undo a lot, like including the climate catastrophe,
Yeah.
like we're going to are we going to somehow reset to years prior? I kind of don't think so from what we've seen. Um, but maybe it's a possibility. You mentioned Foundation. I understand why all psychohistory and so on. Apologies, people listening who haven't seen that show or the one I'm about to mention, which I don't know if Ryan's seen. Did you ever watch Dark on Netflix?
I have seen the first two seasons of Dark. Yes. Not the last one, the first two.
Well, you should watch the rest at some point. You'll and look, I don't feel like Paradise is as smart as Dark.
Right.
So no offense to Dan Fogelman and the other creators of Paradise or anything like that. But I don't quite trust Paradise to pull things off in the same kind of way as
Mm.
Dark does. But it comes to mind for me because in that show, there are temporal paradoxes all over the place. Ultimately,
Yeah.
it's just like let's just load up on them. I mean, I think so. I think we even have an article on tvobsessive.com somewhere written however many years ago, just like elaborating all the different. It's practically like you could, you know, pull up the internet page listing possible temporal paradoxes. They're all in that show. You know what I mean? So I guess part of why I'm thinking about that is there are ways that you can deal with it because I thought Dark was great.
Yeah.
So if Paradise is going to have this kind of temporal paradox that's central to it, maybe it doesn't quote unquote make sense when it comes down to it, but there's still ways it can work with it that will, I think, be narratively satisfying. And that's my hope. I just don't know what it might be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because from some of the stuff Redmond says, I continue to have this little worry in the back of my head that somehow the ultimate resolution is going to be like to erase the narrative we've seen or something. And I'm never a huge fan of that with time travel stuff.
Yeah, the manipulating time is we just go back 80 years and don't poison the climate. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a satisfying conclusion to all of this.
Yeah. But what we've seen seems to point in another direction, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Because
I think so.
We have Link, who I guess we just believe that this is Redmond's son, Dylan, who died when he was a kid,
Hmm.
but now he's not dead. And we talked this all through a bit last week. If anyone's curious to go back to that for maybe more depth here, but that kind of paradox as well, right? And um, how could he be Redmond's son but not recognize her? And she only recognizes him after she finds out his birthday. And in her memory and her past, her young son died. But
Yeah,
within the same world, she's interacting with Henry, and I think Dylan's in that lab too in that scene.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so it's not like, yeah, it's not like you've got two fully separate timelines that
Correct.
have only come together now, sort of post-apocalypse. Although there is an indication that it is going to be what's done, not even yet, right? Like Alex has predicted that Xavier is going to be the one to activate it. And there's something to talk about there in a moment as well. But that then there'll be this kind of retroactive causality, you know, and that's where quantum mechanics is relevant. Again, I don't expect
Yeah.
actual scientific plausibility, but it's at the level of you know, Dan Fogelman or whoever behind the scenes uh, reading the Dancing Movie Masters and like getting inspired or something like that. You familiar?
Yeah,
I
it's
read that book
what's
years ago. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a late
yeah.
telephonic thing.
It's what's I think especially we got a flashback from 9 years before, right? So Link at this point is what they say is a 17 or 18-year old or something. And he's built this thing that is completely theoretical, has not existed, should not exist. So yeah, just raise these interesting questions about how long is this the Dylan from, you know, our timeline, timeline A or whatever it is. If it's not, how long has he been there? How does he have the capability to build something that our smartest brains do not? So, and if he did build it in some other parallel universe, how did he build it and then get to, just this gets to my point of, I wish there was more in depth in this story when they
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of other things that they had to tie up here, and they just got, I think, shortchanged on some of the Alex stuff.
Well, yeah, and I think also maybe they want to leave it for next season because I think this is going to be the big thing for season three.
Yeah,
We know the show's renewed for season three. The buzz, at least, is that that's going to be the final season.
yeah,
And it's easy enough for me to kind of, at this point, make a guess about then, okay, well, we get 8 more episodes that are
yeah,
fundamentally structured around the question that we're talking about right now. And you might almost think, well, that won't take 8 episodes, at which point I'll remind you of the show we're watching, right? Because we'll like in season three, we will clearly have flashbacks of Samantha Redmond and stuff like this that narratively won't be entirely necessary, but they will be there. I'm almost, like
Yeah.
I would put money on it.
So yeah, that was going to be my one question for you. Okay, we have no Cal, we have no Sinatra, we have no Bunker. We have this almost reminds me of the last two Mission Impossible movies, where the enemy was not an enemy; it was a computer, or it was an AI invention of sorts. And so, what kind of show do you think this is in its third, presumably final season? Is it just a race to figure out what this is and turn it on or off? Or is it a sense that they understand what that climate crisis might be, and so they're trying to get there and do that? This is just a race to go turn on a computer. I'm not sure what more we have to do.
right. I mean, that's why I do expect them to explore a little bit more about what Alex is, what Alex does, what Alex has done.
Hmm.
Not yet timey-wimey. Um, but related to that, we know that Link or Dylan wants to destroy Alex, right?
Yeah.
I think that's how I've read his comments. I think he's used words like kill. I don't
Yeah.
know. Um, which is interesting, and why when so something you said a moment ago put me in mind of this, and I didn't quite get there. So circling back just a little bit, yeah, your remark about Dylan inventing the computer when he's 17 or whatever, right? That whole
Yeah.
scene when he's in the lecture hall and he's like, "Why don't you just make it? Look, I already made something like this because I am a super genius kid or whatever, you know."
Yeah.
How is that, right? I mean, it's one thing for him to be alive at all. It's another thing for him to all of a sudden be like a super genius uh, scientist slash engineer or whatever, right?
Right.
Because I mean,
Right.
part of his whole prodding is, oh, I come to classes and there's all this theoretical stuff. Why don't you actually build it? Well,
Yes. Yes.
those are different problems, right? There's a difference between like theoretical physics and the more practical engineering problem.
Yes.
So it's not even so much that he is like a super genius in terms of the theory of physics, quantum mechanics, and all that kind of stuff, but at the level of engineering, being able to build this.
Yeah.
So it has me wondering. We've seen Alex apparently send an email into the past about Jane. We'll talk about Jane more too before we're done. Um, did Alex somehow send information back into the past
Hmm.
that saved Dylan's life? The show doesn't tell us what he died of,
Yeah.
right?
That's
It's
right.
like a mysterious condition. I rewatched the episode last week, and whatever, he just all of a sudden, gets sick riding the horsey outside of the grocery store, and then, specialists, think they could do something, but they ultimately can't, or whatever. So, well, if Alex has figured it out, then you can say, well, okay, Alex sends back the information, um, so that Dylan could be cured and not die. Does Alex also send Dylan somehow the information about how to build Alex? I'm just kind
Mm.
of embracing the paradox at this point. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. And a sense that Redmond, yeah, she that perhaps all along has had two intentions with this thing, knowing that it can do both simultaneously. She's looking for the computer that can both solve this crisis that's coming and go back and save the son that she has lost. Although the son that she has lost is the one who, yeah, we're gonna we better get some of this in three.
Well, and even if, sorry, if you go back to that season one episode, there's a second episode, I think, is the one I rewatched, the one where Dylan gets sick and dies. Also within that episode, there are flashbacks of when she attends a lecture of that scientist about the climate catastrophe and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And he's kind of flippant of her because he has that whole kind of attitude, like, no one cares, no one wants to believe me when I tell them this.
Right. Right.
But when she's kind of hailing him down to indicate that no, she is serious about wanting to try to do something about this, she says, I have a daughter. So, like, her primary motivation, it seems from the beginning, is about her children more than it's about, like, humanity at large or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important character note to tie in here because I think it helps to explain how she's behaving once she has become confident that, quote, it worked and Dylan's alive. Then it's like, okay, well, I've succeeded fundamentally. I can die now, and or something like that.
Yeah, it goes back to our point we were talking about last week. Once she sees Dylan, almost literally becomes a different person. Personality changes, her motives change. She's the way she interacts with Collins in this episode, the things that she's willing to do, sacrificing herself, um, telling Tarabi you made the right call by, I mean, essentially ending this bunker. Just as she, I think you're right in that she realizes how she has succeeded or what she succeeded in and what is possible. And so she is, yeah, she just, it just does not seem like the same Redmond the last episode and a half that we had the first, almost two full seasons.
Yeah. And then my only question is, given some of her remarks, whether she believes further that Alex is going to undo everything in a way that would also like undo her own death or something. She says some things that make it almost sound like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, that'd be weird. I mean, but it's one possibility, I suppose, which would probably be like, what if this series ends with everything being meaningfully undone or something like that? I don't know that I want that to be the ending, but it's possible.
Okay, so a couple of little nits to pick possibly. So did Sinatra Redmond ride this little cart for 100 miles to
I guess
go
so.
to and did that and then came back all in the same morning or day, or I mean that's theoretically possible. It just seemed like she was going about, you know, 20 miles an hour down this road, but I thought, oh, we're all in the same bunker here. But she went 100 miles and back after seeing
Yeah.
Alex.
Well, we just speculate that she's going faster,
I guess
and
so.
that it takes less time. It did. I don't know if that is based on anything real in a direct way. It kind of reminded me of a subway car or something. But you're right. I mean, it doesn't exactly seem like it's going really fast, but
Yeah. I just had to go
I
back and
mean,
watch that again because I mean it's clear in the telling of what's happening here, but it just was not clear to me in the moment that, oh, when you went to see Alex and you saw your scientist and you got the card with the user X on it, you were 100 miles away from the main bunker and then has come back. So this was a 4 hour journey to go and do this while it seemed like the militia was just getting ready and moving in, but maybe that's just, yeah, it's
hmm
just time things not exactly lining up, much less the rapid, bullet train that it took to get from Atlanta to Colorado in the midst of all this stuff happening.
yeah, just don't worry about the stuff too much. What are you doing? What are you doing? We don't know how the time lines up exactly, but it does seem like they took a bullet train. Yeah. Um, Given though all the scenes they show us where everyone's wondering where she is and all of that, I don't know. It's not too hard for me to buy the idea that it took her several hours to make that round trip.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so we see at the end of the episode that location again, which I guess is the airport.
right.
And I didn't look this up. I half meant to and I forgot because we focus in on a horse,
Hmm.
right? I don't know if that's like really there. That would be the only thing that I was
I presume it's the
wondering.
Bronco out in front of out in front of the airport.
Yeah, so it's like it's Denver, so there could actually be a horse there, but I'm not positive because I'm also making the connection with Dylan, who was riding the mechanical horse when not when he died, but when he I don't know um,
Okay,
started dying or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it was they got ice cream. He was riding the horse. He's happy, and then all of a sudden he's fucking seizure or whatever.
so there is
Um,
a blue Mustang sculpture named Blucifer outside the Denver airport. And yes, this is a real thing. It's got red glowing eyes. It is a blue, very large sculpture of a Mustang. So yes, that is a real thing.
Sounds mildly satanic, right? What's going on there?
Yeah. Lucifer, yep.
Lucifer? I might have to read about the history of that a little bit when we're done. But again, there's also the connection in this episode after she's close the doors and everything, even you also see her go to the horsey with the
Yes.
mechanical thing. Um, so what happened to Jane?
What happened to, okay, so I just want to make sure I saw this correct. We see a scene of the shower and she is not there. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
it's clearly that is what they are showing us on purpose,
Yes.
right? Because hey, if you thought Jane was dead, which we made it look like she was dead, nope. Or at least, I mean, unless someone just moved her body, but
Yeah.
that's um, almost less plausible given everything that's going on, right? Citywide evacuation, all of that kind of thing. To think that for some reason someone would come in there and go, "Oh, a dead body! I better do something about this." When the whole
Yeah.
place is melting down, is less plausible to me than Jane isn't
Just seemed
really
like she
dead.
was in that shower bleeding a long time. I mean, we don't exactly know how much time it was, but um, I think we'll see Jane next season now.
I think so. Narratively, too, I'm not super surprised that the TV show would decide to make her not dead. She's stabbed in the back. Where exactly? I don't know.
And
So, but I guess
she snuck out in the chaos of the evacuation somehow. Somebody just grabbed her and threw her into a car or something, and she's out of there.
that's what I find myself wondering about because with the first part of it, I'm led to think, well, it must have been that she wasn't actually mortally wounded, right? Like, so maybe it wasn't actually that bad. We don't know exactly where Shroudi
Yeah.
stabbed her.
Yeah.
Maybe it missed vital organs or what have you. But there's blood, of course. And Jane is really smart and a sociopath, so she just plays dead in the shower until Tarabi
Yep.
goes away. And then, like, as soon as Tarabi goes away, she gets up, does whatever she can to stitch herself up, and then does what? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because we don't see her if she, I mean, I suppose she could have gotten out of the bunker kind of before everyone else or in the chaos, or
Yes.
now I'm realizing it's super easy for me to imagine season three giving us a flashback scene that shows how this occurred. Um, but she's not with the group, right? Because everyone
Right.
who evacuated along with Link and the train people and everyone, they're kind of camping together, right?
Yes. Yes.
So where is she? Just in the mountains of Colorado. How could she be surviving? Where would she get food? Although I guess Paradise has established that that's not the kind of question it tends to worry about a lot. Um, what feeding the baby was never a problem. So,
Nope. Nope. Not at all.
um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know then. Are we to are we going to see Jane um, appearing to threaten people in the camp like she's a horror movie villain or something at this point?
She'll be the person trying to for whatever reason she's got orders from Redmond or she knows something Redmond knows. She'll be trying to thwart what Collins is doing to go activate this thing in the next season in some capacity.
Maybe that's an interesting way to tie this question to one of the other questions I had, which is why Xavier would do it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the indications are that Alex has predicted that it would be Xavier. It says user X. And so
Hmm.
it's like Redmond has this epiphany when she learns that people call Xavier X. She's like, oh, this must be for Xavier, right? When she's giving him the card, we see her say, he asks, why do you think I would do any of this? And she says, I believe you already have.
Hmm.
But why would he do it? I think still lingered for me as a question. I don't know. Do you think it's going to be Jane, like making him somehow
Hmm.
something else?
I don't. I'm very curious of the question of why he would do it, and I think I just keep coming back to sort of when has Sinatra been wrong, or when does she, um, her intuition's not ever been in line with what actually happens. I think Jane will be involved in this somehow in how X is trying to go or Xavier's trying to go and activate this thing, but I think his motivation for doing it is, you know, Redmond had enough foresight and intuition to build this thing. She knew what was coming. She was ready for it. She was prepared for it. She's made all these other contingencies. So why would she be wrong about this? Let me at least go investigate what it is, try to figure out everything before I do anything.
Yeah, he doesn't really trust her though. Um, Here's a possibility. We know Link wants to find Alex, right?
Yes.
And so maybe, and we think Link wants to destroy Alex. Why?
Yes.
I mean, again, I mean, thinking about the paradox I was mentioning, I don't know to what degree that would be if he somehow managed to do it, a weird kind of erasing of his own existence, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Um, it's easier for me to speculate about why in a philosophical kind of way at this point because as we see with Patrick Fischler's character, just this kind of ethical commitment to not messing with time or something. That lands for me relatively well, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but so maybe in season three, Xavier and Link are becoming friends and so on. Link wants to find Alex, and Xavier knows where Alex is. So maybe it's like they're going to go to find Alex together, and Xavier kind of keeps hidden the stuff that Redmond told him and that card that he has in his pocket and all that kind of stuff.
I think that seems yes, that seems very very reasonable. I don't know how a new daughter will impact what Dylan's mission is or what he thinks his mission is at this point.
Mm.
But you know, with anything, even with a child, you're like, okay, I understand this. I have my moment here. Now I want to get back to my mission of what I was about to do, which was to find Alex. Maybe I think it's even more important now to find Alex because he does have a daughter, so that sort of intensifies the motivation.
Yeah, but unless you're right, though, that could be part of the purpose of the baby narratively, right? It could lead to some kind of shift in what Dylan wants to do. Because I've been presuming throughout that he understands what Alex is. He understands what Alex does better than we do
Yes.
as viewers,
Right.
right?
That's right.
So why would he want to destroy it, you know? And if it is just that general kind of principle of, I don't know, kind of like not playing God sort of thing, right? Like the quantum computers trying to alter time, that's no good. Can't do that. Going too far.
Yeah.
If he knows that his own current existence depends on Alex being activated, and thus his daughter's life depends on that
Yeah.
as well, that could potentially be a shift in his position, I suppose.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. He has lost close friends and allies. He's gained a daughter. Yeah. I mean, I would wish we knew what Dylan knows about this about this thing and what it can do because he knows more than Collins does. If he hears the Collins going that way, yeah, there's going to be some significant debate about what's the purpose there.
Indeed. So that'll be where we're going. I mean, a couple other loose ends. I don't know if we have much to say about them. There's a good amount of stuff going on in this episode with threat to Hadley and Presley in the elevator and all of that, but they're ultimately okay.
Yeah.
Anders, not okay. Anders dead. Um, Jeremy and Robinson, wounded. At one point, she wants him to leave her behind, and he kind of does, but he brings back help, and they both get out. Redmond dies, presumably, when the whole thing melts down and kind of collapses the mountain over top of it. And yeah, I don't know. Do you want to say anything about any of those things?
No, I mean those were just loose ends that they had to tie up. We get pretty much everybody coming back. We thought we weren't going to have Jane, but we'll certainly have Sinatra in flashbacks. Jane will be a part of it, so yeah, I wasn't surprised necessarily. I mean, Anders is just a red shirt that we can lose really at this point because his purpose has been served, and so yeah, I think I'm not surprised with who we're left with going into what could be the final season.
Yeah. And what else will these people do?
Yeah,
And um, do we believe we on here have mostly believed the scientist guy about the Venus syndrome threat?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
is that on the horizon? I mean, is that going to actually factor in narratively? That sort of thing is a question. I feel like there was something else I was going to comment on, and I've sort of lost it. Maybe not. Anything else occurring to you? You want to be sure to hit on before we wrap up here?
No, I think that's about it. I presume if it's, like between one and two, it was not a terribly long break, maybe just a year or so in between seasons. I think with that little snippet we got with the announcement of season three, they're already underway with at least the pre-production. So we should get this within a year, I believe.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And probably no, it's another 8 episodes. And then it's weird. It's like, oh, we got 3 seasons, and it's going to be what, 24 episodes, which
Yeah,
in the past
that's
might have
it.
been one season of TV show. Um,
Now, I want you to
but
let's bookmark this right here because if it took them 6 minutes to get from Atlanta to Colorado in this episode on the train. If it takes the whole season for them to get to the 100 miles in season three, I'll have some problems. But I don't anticipate it'll take that long to get there.
no, I mean, well, maybe it'll take them that long insofar as it takes them time to decide whether to go and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
um, I'll be curious to see how they kind of fill it out because I think we pretty much got all of our characters together there in Colorado. We don't
Yep,
know where
yep.
Jane is. We don't know if she's going to show up, when it's killing people or
Yeah.
what.
Well, they wouldn't
Maybe.
have shown that if she didn't make it out of the bunker,
Right. If she was dead, she'd just be dead.
and she's banging on the door
Right.
and they're gone, and she just gets
Yeah.
buried alive. They wouldn't have showed that.
So So to make a point of having in there just a shot of the empty shower, yeah. Oh, that was the other thing that I was going to say something about. I speculated a couple of weeks ago about whether with that Jane episode, Alex sending the message somehow worked. And
Mm,
I guess, want to mention that possibility again in terms of the narrative structure of the show. Now that we're dealing with all this weird timey-wiminess, I think it's at least a possibility that some of the things that we have seen in the past are in some way an alternate timeline to what we're seeing in the present,
yeah,
or
I
maybe
think
not.
that is certainly on the table.
But that one in particular, right? Because we saw the intervention with the message to the Circuit City guy, and then we wondered at the end, well, if Jane castrated this guy, and so on, how would her career continue? You
Yeah,
know, that's enough to get me going on the thought of, oh, well, maybe that's somehow an alternate timeline where her career didn't continue, or she didn't make it in the bunker, or something like that. So
yeah, yeah.
we'll see how weird season three gets along those sorts of lines, I suppose.
Yeah, one thing this show has never done is never failed to surprise us, starting from that very first episode. So we will see.
All right, I guess we'll leave it there. Thanks always for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If so, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, greatly appreciate it. Be sure to check out tvobsessive.com where you can find written work on all sorts of TV shows, past and present. And if you want to follow us on social media, if you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us. And we'll be back next week talking about something.
Yeah, we'll be here. We'll see what that thing is.
All right. We haven't decided yet. There we go. Anyway, see you next week.
All right, see you next time.